Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the first in our series of webinars in the lead up to the World Scout Jamboree in North America this summer. My name is Mark Turner. I'm on the contingent support team, IST support, and have led on the initial recruitment process for you guys. The intention of these webinars is to inform and signpost you to where help can be found. And the questions we answer tonight will all be rolled into the next batch of FAQs to be added to the website. So what will we cover this evening? Firstly, help you to recognise your IST support team before the all-adult weekend. Remind you of what kit will be provided by the UK Contingent and give you advice on what kit might best prepare you for a summer in West Virginia. So thanks to everyone who's already submitted questions for this evening's call. We'll also try and answer those submitted during the call at the end. And good news, we're not just live, but recording it also. Recordings will be available in the What Have I Missed section on the IST zone following each session, and we're aiming to have those up there within a few days of the call. On the call tonight, we have myself, obviously Mark Turner. We have Lee Villiers or Stuart Card from the contingent management team. And then we'll have Tim Wakely, who's one of our unit support guys, but has a wealth of knowledge of the types of kit you might want to consider. And then later on, we'll have Jonathan from the comms team, who'll be going through some of the questions that submitted this evening. So your IST support team, we like to be referred to as the IST crew. If you're at the IST1 event at Walesby, you may already recognise some of us. Richard is our line manager, Katie working on the linking of IST with units, Graham leads on your big adventure when in Washington, Gillian heads up the high ropes, and Chloe is working hard on our UK listening ear. And as I said, I've led on the recruitment piece. Jonathan is our comms guy, and Christina ensures we do everything youth-shaped. And I'll pass you over to Stuart now, who'll run through what you can expect from the UK contingent kit-wise.
Good evening. So I have the pleasure of talking to you about the UK contingent kit. You can look at the kit on the website. The tab looks slightly different from that at the moment because you'll see a big banner about the kit at the website talking about optional kit. But I'll come back to that a bit later on. First of all, what is the kit that the UK contingent are going to provide to you? Well, you've already had some of it because you will have hopefully received your contingent scarf and a contingent badge. It'll be the correct scarf for whether you're a guide or a scout, and the badges are the same. You'll get another badge and another scarf with the rest of your kit, which includes your World Membership badge if you're a scout, or your Girl Guiding badge tab, and also 2 Union flags for your uniform. And obviously, if you're getting badges for your uniform, you'll also get a uniform as well. So either a short sleeve scout leader shirt or a guide leader blouse, and some UK contingent shorts, which are just navy blue, but have got some decent sized pockets on them. There's a t-shirt, a hat, and a water bottle. The water bottle design and colours were decided on by the young people of the Impact team, which is a group of young people that support the contingent management team in making decisions. The contingent ran a number of youth-shaped regional days when other kit was discussed, including the hat. So the hat that was decided upon is a floppy brimmed hat. It has the bear on it and is the brown colour of the bear. And that was put together. The young people had lots and lots of hat choices to choose from, and that was the one they went for. They also chose the colours of the various t-shirts, which is why yours is the contingent navy blue. The young people themselves will get a light blue t-shirt. And then probably the two most important pieces of kit are your hold all and your day sack, both of which have been produced in association with Go Outdoors, whose logos you'll see on the kit. The day sack is about 30 litres, with the hold all is about 80 litres, and is 75 times 35 times 35 centimetres, if you want to know the sizing, if you're thinking about what to put in it. The hold all can either be pulled on a short strap on the top of the bag or worn as a rucksack. But no, it does not have any waist straps, but still is a good way of managing to get it around the site. And that is the kit that the contingent will be providing to you. There is also optional kit you can get from Scout stores, and there's a link to purchase that from the UK Contingent website in the IST zone. There's loads of different things that you can get, ranging from shorts, a coat, a woggle, even some of the pattern with the bowler hat, bow tie, and monocle that you'll see all over the place. The deadline for this is the 28th of February, so you need to get a move on to order some of this. The kit itself is pre-ordered, so there is actually only limited stock of each one. So some things on the website have already started to sell out, so really don't leave it to the last minute tomorrow. There's also lots and lots of things that you can buy that you might want to use as swaps at the Jamboree. Badges, gifts, things like that, things that you wouldn't necessarily want to keep to yourself as a reminder of the Jamboree, but something to take with you to swap with other members of other contingents. So do have a look round before the deadline closes, which is the 28th of February. If we think about the Jamboree site, we need to think about, oh, sorry, wrong slide. There is also souvenirs available from the Jamboree organisers as well, and you can link to that from the Jamboree organisers website. There's lots of Jamboree related things there, including the Jamboree tartan, so you can have a look at that. Because you're ordering them from overseas, you will have to pay import tax potentially on some items, and that's you pay that once it's delivered here. So the price you see on the website is the price you pay to the organisers, but that might not be the same as the final amount you have to pay, depending on what the import tax is, which varies from item to item. Now let's think about the Jamboree site and what sort of kit we might need on the site. The temperature, it's relatively warm, over 25 degrees and maybe 30 degrees during the day, but at night it does get quite cool and may drop below 16 degrees. It's clear most of the time, but as you might expect, the site is subject to quite powerful storms, especially during the afternoon. And when it rains, it really rains. And thunderstorms and lightning are quite common. So you possibly need to have a think about the sort of kit that you might need to ensure that you're cool enough during the day, but protected if it really starts raining. And also, it's very humid and hot. So you'll get really sweaty, especially when we think about the size of the site. And actually, the UK Contingent t-shirt wicks that sweat away. And so wicking tops are generally a good idea at dealing with those very hot and humid conditions. The site itself is massive and hilly. It is not going to be flat walking. So you need to think about how you're going to get around and what needs to be on your feet. We would say that open-toe shoes are not really the best thing to wear because a lot of the paths are quite gravelly and you'll get that gravel in your sliders or in your flip-flops if you're wearing something like that, and it'd be quite uncomfortable to walk on. And also they provide you with absolutely no ankle support, which will be crucial because on that sort of path, your feet can slip, especially in loose shoes. And the most common area that you'll find damaged is your ankle. This will be my 4th World Scout Jamboree. I've spent a lot of time seeing people on crutches and in wheelchairs because they do a lot of walking and haven't potentially worn the right shoes. And actually, the weakest point that always goes is the ankle. So do think about that and think about the sort of shoes that you need for those sort of conditions. You know, we're all scouts and guides, all done a lot of walking potentially in hills. I was in the Lake District over the weekend. I had my hiking boots on with my good ankle support. They'll be the ones that come in with me to the World Scout Jamboree. Now I will hand over to Tim.
Mark, if you can just go back a slide, and we'll go back just to recap for people who may have missed the first bit of that. So yeah, apologies about that for the sound. Hopefully we can see if we can get Tim back with a bit of a faster connection there. So we're just going to cover a few things on kit recommendations, things that we've picked up from previous experience, things that we've seen from our visits to the Jamboree site already, and some of the ideas that we've heard from you yourselves already. There's a couple of things though I recommend you check following this teleconference. There's quite a lot of really useful information already on the Jamboree Flash web pages of the Jamboree organisers, a link which can be found in the IST Times that was sent to you over the weekend. This includes a recommended kit list that they've thought about long and hard based on previous Jamborees at the site. We'd also recommend, when thinking about what you're going to put in your bag for the more unusual items, about what your airline may be able to permit, both in hand luggage and in your hold-all bag, and also just to consider the national border laws. So what the US and for some of you Canada will allow in various different bags and through their borders. This is different for every country. So we recommend that you just do a double check on that before you travel. And also finally, just to consider the insurance limits. We provided some full information on some of the limits of insurance over the weekend in the IST Times, particularly some of the limits to insurance, and we'd recommend you just double check that before you consider what items to take. We don't want people taking really expensive items and then finding out that they can't fully claim for them on their insurance. So as Tim was kindly saying, I've got some really good practical items. So number one must, I think, for any scout campsite is a torch. As Stu was saying, it can get dark, and we understand from previous visits that it can get dark very quickly. It's almost like a light switch on the Jamboree site, so best not to be caught out. Second item there, battery pack. I think we all know what it's like on scout camp. We all like to use our phones in this modern day age, and it's always useful to have a battery pack to keep your phone charged up. The site's actually covered by a fantastic range of charging spots, but we all know that with our expensive phones these days, leaving a cheap battery pack compared to an expensive iPhone, other brands are available, may not always be advisable. Gorilla tape. We all know that things break, whether it's your shorts when you bend over, your bags or other items. Always useful to have some tape in your bag or to lend to others when things go wrong. I know this next one sounds interesting, but pants. We were alluding to at the start about the hot weather, humid temperatures. Just thinking about the type of underwear and stuff, the worst thing you can have when you're walking all these distances is chafing, particularly between the legs. So just have a think about that. Washing line and pegs, great social activity for ensuring that you're keeping all your kit washed, hanging things between tents and that sort of thing. Batteries for your torch at the top. Electrical installation tape, fixing things and that sort of thing. Paracord, always good for tying different things up, hanging things up in your tent, really useful. A little bit of glue. Again, we all know that things go wrong. We break things. We're away for a good number of weeks, so it's always good to have something. Adapter. Don't forget your adapter, of course. Remember, in the US, they've got US style plugs, and of course, money. And you'll have read that we're looking at introducing some sort of money card, and there'll be more information about the all adult weekend about the money card available. Just think about how much money you may need, how you're going to carry that money. Do you want it all in cash? Do you want it on cards? That sort of thing. So on to luxuries. So as much as the all useful standard kit is on the Jamboree site, we're away for a long period of time, and it's always great to have a few luxuries. For some people, that's coffee to wake them up in the morning, whether that's a coffee flask or their special way of making coffee. For some people, especially not me though, it's Marmite is their thing. It's those creature comforts, whether that's a chocolate bar, their favourite Haribo sweet or Marmite, just something to give you a G up when you've had a long, hard day. Travel pillow. Consider how much we are going to be travelling on the to the Jamboree. Consider when you might need a nap occasionally, and all the long plane journeys. They're always really useful. A playlist. The contingent management team have already created their own playlist for the Jamboree. I already enjoy really listening to that on my hard day's work at the moment. So I recommend you creating your own playlist for the Jamboree, something to really embed your memories in and associate with certain songs. Coffee, we had the cafetiere at the top, but yeah, keeping yourself awake. Something to rub into the aching joints. We all have our own favourites, different remedies and creams. Just for those especially that get sore muscles, like I said at the start, it is going to be a big site. And last but not least, a teddy. Something that may be contingent bear. We all have our own little creature comforts, and don't forget these when you're on the site. So a bit more in detail on clothing. A spare hat. It is going to be sunny. You're going to be outside all the time. Quite a lot of us are used to being inside a lot at the moment. So it's always good just to make sure you've got enough hats. You've obviously got the UK Contingent wide brimmed hat that you're going to receive. You may also want to choose an extra hat just in case you lose it or as a spare. Waterproof. Stuart was saying at the start of the call, often get quite quick, sharp showers. It's very humid, so that you'll soon dry off, but you might want to consider a lightweight rain mat because you'll find that you might not be able to dodge those showers. Dry bags, just remembering that we're outdoors at the end of the day to keep your clean clothes dry, especially when we're travelling around. Worst things worse, torrential rain just as you arrive on site and you've not got a tent. Just think about those sorts of things. Here's a useful one, a full set of clothing in your hand luggage. The worst thing that can happen to anyone is they get to the US of A and find that their baggage in their hold of the airline hasn't quite made it. You don't want that to ruin the start of your Jamboree. So just have a think about putting a full set of clothing in your hand luggage. And also that might be something for the plane. We ask that all UK contingent members travel in their uniform. The reason this is it's a great message for outsiders. It's amazing how many people will say hello to you and be interested in what you're doing. But once you get onto the plane, you might want to just change out your uniform for while you're on the plane, just sit into something more comfortable, and then remembering to just put your uniform back on just before you land. And then sleeping bag. Have a think about what sort of sleeping bag, what you're comfortable in. Now we understand that IST are going to be in what the Americans call cots, so camp beds. And you may have seen a few pictures on social media and on the Jamboree organisers website. Because of the temperatures, we recommend probably around a 2-season sleeping bag. But you may want to think about how you can make the Jamboree a bit more comfy for yourself. Had a number of recommendations. Obviously, the classic one is some sort of inflatable pillow. There's lots of great different inflatable pillows or fold out pillows on the market. Some people also find that camp beds can be quite hard. I know some people in the past have put a roll mat underneath it just to soften the fabric. So just have a think about that. What's best in the way you sleep. If you're someone that gets cold, you may want to take a thin microfleece blanket just to throw over you for those really cold nights. But generally, a 2-season sleeping bag should be plenty. And then onto your health, probably the most important thing for the Jamboree. What the last thing we want is people to get ill or a little cut to turn into something far bigger, and that ends up in the Jamboree hospital where no one wants to be for the 2 weeks. So a personal first aid kit. This has to be nothing fancy, but just consider things that will get you through. The odd bit of plasters, little creams, linked to that wet wipes, just to clean up anything and to keep yourself fresh and tidy. Travel wash. So this is for mainly for your clothes, but obviously you might want to take some hand sanitizer as well. We've got at the bottom. Yeah, travel wash. You can buy it in quite a lot of different outdoor stores. Great when you put it in a sink and just wash some of your clothes, so you don't have to think about taking 2 to 3 weeks worth of clothes. You can just take enough to get you by between different washes, really, and that's where the washing line and pegs come in. Any personal medication, obviously you know this best. If you've got any particular needs for storage or personal medication, please make sure it is loaded onto events. You can log in onto events there at any time and let us know about personal medication, but please let us know about that so we can cater for it if that's needed. Plastic bags, always useful. Putting dirty clothes in, maybe using as a bin in the tent, all these different uses. A couple of items of spares for wash kits. Might be that you separate some of them out for when you're traveling. A little toothbrush potentially on the plane, that sort of thing. And we covered hand sanitizer a minute ago. So on to the fun bits, tat and icebreakers. So what is tat? Well, tat is things, and icebreakers are things that are going to help introduce you to different people. You may have heard that a big part of some people's jamborees is swapping badges, and you'll have seen it from some of the enthusiastic posts we've had on the UK Contingent Facebook page recently. Particularly Americans love what they call patches, which is their equivalent of badges, and they love to swap. And a lot of people from around the world love to swap. So it's having a think of potentially, if you're meeting someone for the first time or meeting people on site, how you can break that tension. It could be with some novelty items. It could be a badge that you want to swap. Even some people like to swap neckers, or some people know them as scarves, and woggles. And also for some of the more some people prefer to do old uniforms, so just have a think about what you may want to swap. Give us gifts. We'll obviously all make friends over the Jamboree, and it's always nice sometimes to give and receive different mementos from the Jamboree, and it really does help the conversation, especially when you've not met someone and you're meeting a group of 10 or more people for the first time. I can't remember everyone's names. It's just a great way of just going up to someone and saying hi, really, and introducing you. And it could be a complete stranger that you meet or sitting at a table when you sit down for your first coffee of the day. So that's a wrap of some of the kit. Obviously, it's not an endless list of kit. I advise you to obviously go and read up on the Jamboree organisers' recommended kit, and also have a think yourself about what potential kit you might want to take. I'd always start a list personally, well in advance. Just keep on adding to it in as you go along over the next few months of things that you may want to take, things that you think of, things that friends recommend to you. So we've had a number of questions sent to us while we've been on the call, and we've had a number of questions sent to us in advance. So thank you very much for that. I'm then going to invite some of the team to answer some of the questions. So we'll pick out the first one here now. So the first one, Stuart, if you don't mind answering this. is what do we advise on taking pen knives to the Jamboree?
Pen knives is a difficult one. I think there is some advice in a flash update about pen knives. Obviously, you have issues with pen knives in regards to transporting them to the site. So they definitely wouldn't be allowed in your hand luggage, but may be permitted in your hold luggage. We'd have to check that with the airline that you were flying with. I think it's a suitably complex topic as to probably warrant an FAQ about it, and we'll put something on the website specifically around pen knives, because there might be issues in regards to traveling with them in your bags when we're on coaches or similar modes of transport as we go through different states. So probably one to research, and we'll provide some further information on that on the website.
That's brilliant, thank you. And thanks again for Stuart. He kindly stepped in at the last minute to cover for Lee, who normally does a kit. So thank you for that. Sorry for putting you on the spot. Got a question here. I think I'll actually answer this one. Is it advisable to take out extra travel insurance? This is from Janet. So Janet, your trip is covered by the UK Contingent insurance. The limits are available in the latest Jamboree IST times on what you take. And obviously that will depend on what you're taking. And advise you check the individual limits and maximum limits on items. That should, for the most part, cover you, we feel, for everything that you may wish to take. Now, if you're doing additional time, either travelling before or after the Jamboree, our Unity travel insurance have actually offered to a pay per day rate to extend that travel insurance, and the contact information for them can be found on the website. If you decide you want over and above the limits that we've set out in our insurance, and you think you want to get yourself additional travel insurance, you just need to be really careful. We would advise against it, but if you do choose to do it, you do need to speak to your insurance company, because you can find that sometimes if you've got two insurance policies, they make each other invalid. Hopefully that answers your question, Janet. Stuart, we got a question from Lauren about walking boots or shoes. What do you think you recommend?
That is a tricky one, because it's a very personal thing. Because the days are long, you're going to be on your feet for long periods and potentially walking long distances. Many years ago, I did work in an outdoor shop, so I do have some opinions on this. So personally, when I'm on loose gravel paths and going to be walking long distances with inclines, I always wear boots, because I do have quite weak ankles, and I have damaged one of my ankles. So as a personal preference, I would wear a boot because of the additional ankle support they give. But if you don't normally wear hiking boots and you don't find them very comfortable, then it's a difficult one, because you're more likely to find that actually they can be uncomfortable and rub on your ankle. So I'm going to give a really unhelpful answer and say it's a very personal thing, but you have to think about the sort of terrain that you're looking at and what's going to be comfortable, and therefore you wear them, but also is going to provide the most support to your feet throughout the event.
Brilliant, thank you. I echo that. I think that's a great answer. Mark, from your experience, someone's asking, obviously we talked about wearing your scout uniform or guide uniform on to the while traveling. Someone's just asking, how often do we need to actually wear a uniform? Presumably it's not every day on the Jamboree site, and how do you keep it clean?
Yeah, so in my experience at in Swedish and the Japanese Jamboree, travelling is not such an issue. Obviously, once you're on the bus, once you're on the plane, you can take it out. You take your shirt off at least, fold it neatly, and all that kind of stuff. At the event itself, you've got to think more about what role you're in. If you're front of house in the ceremonies or something like that, then obviously smartness is key, and you may want to consider extra uniform and that kind of thing. If your role's more practical, then there'll be certain times of ceremony, opening and closing and the like, when uniform will be expected. So how do you keep your uniform clean and tidy at camp if you're in the UK or wherever you're based? And just think about that. Pack yourself a hanger. Make sure it's maybe even a black plastic bag just to sit over it to keep it dry if the rain gets in and all that kind of stuff. It's just about thinking ahead and how we might do the very same in the UK. The only difference is obviously you're thousands of miles from home. There are laundries and various on site, so if the need be, obviously you can wash it. So just think that kind of thing through.
Thank you, Mark. One for you now, Stu. We've had Trevor's asking, are the day sacks suitable for use as hand baggage on the flights?
Yes, I believe so. Obviously, each different airline has its own maximum weight limit. So it's not that you can ram as much as possible into your day sack that you can't fit in your main bag. So do check once you know your airline what the weight limit and also restrictions on the size of your bags are. Just to double check, but I believe they have been designed with that in mind.
Yeah, no, I'd just echo that, Stu. I had a similar question come up that is on what is the baggage allowance? At the moment, we can't, for those on options A and B, we can't confirm that precisely because it will be dependent on your airline and also whether you're doing additional tours or where you've got internal travel by air once in the States. This information will be coming out with your travel information around Easter time. But one thing to remember when thinking about how much you're going to take, in my past experience, is that you've got to carry this, and sometimes we talked about gravel paths. Although the UK contingent holders can be wheeled, wheels aren't always compatible, particularly with some gravel surfaces. So just think when you are ramming all your kit in, how much kit you can actually hold. I've just seen Steve's popped a question about which airline are we flying with. That is a number of different airlines, so that will be confirmed around Easter time to everyone. So Stuart, just another one for you. Just got a question about how were the certain items selected for the UK contingent kit? Alice points out obviously with storms, and in the past we provided a waterproof. Is there a particular reason we've chosen certain bits this time and not provided a waterproof?
That is certainly one for Lee, and one I don't have all the information for. The kit was a selection process that went through with the kit about liaising with young people about the sort of kit they wanted, and also some internal discussions around which kit we should provide. Obviously, any kit provided has to come from the overall fee. And whilst waterproofs have been provided in the past, there's some questions around certainly the waterproof that was provided in Japan. And also, I think it's one of those items where actually most people have their own waterproof that they are happy with. They know the size of it. It's how they want it to be, and that's something to bear in mind. That actually, and certainly from my own experience, of previous jamborees, including in Sweden, where it was very wet a lot of the time. You're best actually in the one that you already own, that you know and that you're comfortable with.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer there. We'll look at see if there's anything more we can add to that after the call. We can always add it as an FAQ, certainly. One for you now, Mark. People are talking about, we talked about badge swapping earlier on in the call, and someone's just asking, if we are swapping badges, are we allowed to swap with young people on the Jamboree site?
That's quite a simple one, Jonathan. The answer is no. Obviously, you can negotiate with their leaders and so on and work out, but direct one-to-one swapping badges with young people is not allowed.
I like short and sweet answers, so thank you for that, Mark. And just looking through some of the other questions that we've received at the moment. Stu, we've obviously got a deadline for optional kits of 2 days' time. Will any of that pre-order kit be available at a later stage? Is one of the questions.
I would say potentially it depends on the number of orders that have been received for the kit, and potentially where extra things were ordered and not sold, they may be available. But I wouldn't want to guarantee it. I wouldn't want anyone to come off this and say, "Oh, they'll probably have loads of it and so I'll be able to get it later." That might not be the case with some of the more popular items. So if you do want something, and then I would recommend ordering it now. But I should say as well, sorry, it's probably quite likely that that Scout Shops will be at all adults weekend. So if there is anything for which items might be available, they may well be available then.
No, that's a good prompt to remind me, Stu. A few questions, obviously, on kit and all adult weekend. So we've said that if unfortunately you've changed size or the size that you ordered for the UK Contingent standard kit doesn't fit, there will be a swapping service at the all adult weekends now, where that obviously with some particularly young people, but in others you may not be able to make the weekend for various different circumstances. Advise that if you do have something to swap, that you ask a fellow friend or IST to bring that item down to be swapped with you. You'll be receiving a kit around Easter time again, and it will be posted out to you in one shipment to you. So please check that the address you've got on events there is correct. You don't want to be sending your kit to the wrong place. And that will be coming to you, and then there'll be the opportunity to swap that at the all adult weekend. Obviously, we've only got limited, so we'll be swapping within people. Different people, we've got some spares, but yeah, if you can't make it, the first point of call is to ask a friend just to bring that item along with the size that you want, and we'll try and arrange that to be swapped. Just having a look down now if there's any other questions before we wrap up at the call tonight. I think on the whole, that's covered a lot of the general questions that we've had tonight. Mark, if I can just hand over to you then, just to wrap up for us this evening. If there's any questions that you feel we haven't covered, if you do, just drop them to the IST inbox and we'll try and provide you an answer. And for anything that we've said, we'll look at popping an FAQ afterwards. So over to you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. Thanks for stepping up there. So it just remains to me to thank everyone for listening and taking part, sending in the questions beforehand. But don't forget to sign up to the other planned webinars and to submit your questions for those also. And the dates and topics were listed on the latest IST times, which you would have received at the weekend. And of course, all the info can be found via the website. That's ukcontingent.co.uk/jamboree-2019/WSJ IST-zone. It's all there, and this recording will be up there in 3 or 4 days from now. So until next time, thank you.